Hear me okay, and I can hear you okay. I guess we're good to go. Everything is recording. So welcome to another Creative Spin podcast online today again with Carmen Costa from the TCG Lending Group. How's it going, Carmen?
Good. Just living life, in the new norm. This is our new norm, right? We have to adjust. So it's been quite an experience, but it's awesome.
So awesome, you just took off your teacher hat right now, right? So you could do the Zoom call, right?
Yeah. At 1 o'clock, I know you were like, you called me. Are you getting on this call? I'm like, I'm just finishing school. The thing is you finish school and then you have to get the kids situated for the afternoon, right? So they either go outside and play, or they get to have free time. So everybody essentially gets to pick their thing to do. So they wanted to go on their tablets. They wanted to play roadblocks, right? So they worked really hard today. So I was like, you know what? Okay, fine. While mommy goes on this podcast, you guys can keep silent in your room and play roadblocks.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Workplace One, a company offering boutique private offices, co-working spaces, and virtual office solutions, as well as meeting rooms in the best neighborhoods of Toronto and Kitchener-Waterloo. Ideal for entrepreneurs, companies, and passionate business people. Workplace One is where you want to be with your business. For more information, go over to workplaceone.com. And have you noticed, have your kids now adapted to this new reality? Do they understand what needs to go on? Because I know that in the beginning it was confusing for all the kids. Like, what do you mean I have to be quiet and you're on a call? What do you mean that, and none of that ever happened, and you're like making a call and the kids are in the back and they're yelling and screaming and all that. But I think nowadays, I notice it in mine as well. They kind of get it. Like, Dad's at work. This is his office as well. Have you been seeing a change with your kids as well?
100%. Yeah. 100%. It's, you know what? And I say this to yesterday was the funniest. I was on the phone with an investor and he was talking, but he had heard, I said, so when I picked up, it was Monday, it was a holiday. So I said, hey, listen, I can talk, but just remember, this is a holiday. My kids are around me, right? So you're going to hear them screaming. I have 4 kids, so you're going to hear them screaming, get all, crazy. He's like, no problem. But he went to go say something and he's like, I don't want to get, and then he's like, whoa, he stopped. He's like, hold on a second. He goes, are your kids around you? I'm like, no, why? I just moved into the office. He's like, oh, okay, I don't want to get, and then he starts swearing. I'm like, you're so funny. I'm like, honestly, he's like, oh no, now I got to watch what I say. I can't be just dropping F-bombs.
But this used to happen to me even before. Like I would, people would call me, I would be driving and then I start swearing and then I realize, do you have kids in the car?
So true. But you know what though? It's honestly been a great experience. I can't, it's hard. Like it's stressful because today my daughter did not want to go to school. She was like, I don't want to go to school. And, I gave her, the letters to trace and she's just scribbling all over it. So those are the times where you want to lose it, but then you're like, poor girl, she's tired. She doesn't want to do this. Like, so I'm like, you know what, honey, I gave her a whole bunch of crayons. I'm like, just mark creative. It all up, like do whatever, like it's not worth Jamie anymore freaking out.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, my son was so engaged. He's like, A, B, ba. And then he's like shaping it out. Like he's rocking it, right? So he wanted to do it. She just didn't want anything to do with school. She's like, can I have the whole week off? I'm like, okay, calm down. You're not having the whole week off.
No. But you're saying that and I think we all go through the same thing, even as adults, right?
100%.
There are days that we wake up and, man, you just don't feel like going to work or doing anything at that particular time. And I think we need to, as adults, we can make that decision for ourselves and we can say, you know what? I'm not going to work this morning. I'm only going after lunch. I need my, some breather.
100%.
Kids, a lot of times we don't even give them that chance because they have to go to school and they have to be there. And it sucks for them, right? And I think now with this change, that's beneficial on their end because we as parents, we have that sensibility of seeing, okay, you know what? I get it. It sucks. So here are some crayons, right?
Let me tell you, I'll tell you something. Before my son, so my kids were going to a Montessori, when I would say around February, my son wasn't really learning a lot of things. And I started to realize a lot of things when it came to my son's learning. So, they were under the impression my son had a learning disability, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling you, this was the best thing. You know what? My son can read now.
Yeah.
He's full on reading. My son is full on writing out every single letter. You know what? Does he go to school every day, 3 hours a day? No. He goes to school 2 hours a day, and maybe Monday through Thursday. Friday is always a PA day in this house. You know what I mean? But they work hard. They work hard. Those 2 hours are devoted. Like, he knows all his flags. You know what I mean? Like, my kid's a genius. And I said to Zareen, I was like, you know what? I realized we send our kids to school. How long do they actually learn? How long does the teacher actually teach them?
I mean,
how much time does the teacher give that one individual in his classroom with 24 kids? How many hours was she devoting to my kid? Not much, right? So to me, it's like, you know what? If this is the new norm, my son is excelling in the new norm, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's actually rocking it. Like, I'm not kidding, Jamie. I was saying to one of my girlfriends on Friday, I said, I'm really considering homeschooling my kids. And, oh yeah, you're running a brokerage. I'm like, but how long do you have to teach your kids? For real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about it, Jamie. Like, it's crazy. Like, my son knows the alphabet inside out. He knows how to read sight words. He knows how to read.
And when it comes to school, I mean,
February, he wasn't reading at all. Like, zero. Didn't know his letters. Didn't know anything.
And I think you're getting everything. You're getting it right on. It's I think the school, in terms of, socializing, being with other kids and knowing how to behave with other people, yes, it's an important component. But when it comes to learning, I totally agree with you. How can one person take care of 24 or even in some cases more kids?
It's hurting, man. You're like hurting them. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I was speaking to somebody regarding homeschooling, so I have sought advice on it. The social aspect, Jamie, get my kids to do activities that they enjoy.
Yeah.
Dance, gymnastics, karate, soccer. You know what? 3 hours a week, I'll put them in social studies. You know what I mean? And they can do that. I believe wholeheartedly the best teacher.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. Like, I believe I teach my staff. My staff sits around me and I teach them. Why not be the teacher to my kids? Maybe this will be a big project. I don't know, but I honestly am heavily considering
if someone has the chance to do this, I think it is the best option for kids to have their parents. It's not easy, and we need to realize that it's not for everybody, because unfortunately most people have to go to work and do their their hours at work. But as a business
owner, you know what? School hours can honestly adjust from 8:30 to 10:30, and then I can get to the office.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, they say homeschooling is 1 to 2 to 3 hours, right? So
I mean, there's homeschooling going on right here. See that? They're going now. They're going into a Zoom class, right? Which, it takes a lot of time off of mom or off of me, mostly mom. Who am I kidding? She's the teacher. She's an actual teacher. So it's just one of those things. But, I agree with you. The thing is, sometimes we have this idea that school has to be 8 hours or 6 hours or whatever it was.
Not possible.
It doesn't need to. It doesn't really need to. You can compress everything into a 2 to 3 hour day in school.
But let's just look at my kid. Okay, February, he was not reading. The teachers, the principal, or the head mistress, whatever you want to call her, they were sitting with me telling me that my son may have a learning disability, right? That's what they were saying to me. Essentially my son was bored. He was bored in that class because he wasn't getting the intention. He wasn't getting the one-on-one that he needed to learn, right? And to advance. I'm telling you, Jamie, if you see this kid, you wouldn't even believe. What are we sitting in, May? And it was February, March. I had him see, a professional. And you want to talk about stress? Like, this is very personal. That was stressful.
And I think in society,
my son has a learning disability.
Yeah, and I think in society, I think there's a lot of that misconception where, how much, when you look at how many cases of kids being diagnosed with A, B, C, and D. Are they really diagnosed? I'm sure that there are some cases.
It's to hurt all those kids and keep them silent. I'm telling you,
but
Jamie, you want to talk about a touchy situation? This is a touchy situation. When they sat with me and told me my son had a learning disability, that really affected me. I'm like, how is my son not learning? Like, this doesn't make sense. He doesn't know his alphabet, doesn't know it. Okay, I'm sorry. I was a working mom, right? And they push the blame on you. Like, your son should have known this at age 4. He should have known this. He should have. And I'm like, you are aware I worked right when he was born. So, you know, pushing it on me, yeah, okay, then I will take the ownership and teach my kid. And guess what? We're sitting May 19th, and my son is full on reading. My son is full on knowing his alphabet, letters, his 20 count up to 25. He's way ahead of society now. Society standard, right? So you want to talk about a touchy situation? Like this was one thing that and you know what the worst part is though, Jamie? You keep this shut, like closet closed, right? Because you're like, I'm embarrassed. My son has a learning disability, right? And then it's like your daughter's excelling. My daughter's just walking around that classroom.
Do you think that that a lot more parents, or even the ones that don't have their kids in a private school system, even in the public system, do you think that mothers and fathers obviously are realizing now that the educational system is not up to what it should be?
You are 100% correct, and I've realized that. So, and listen, I blame myself. If anybody wants to talk about something, this is something I blame myself for not recognizing it. As I had my son see a behavioral therapist, I had my son go to the doctors, I ran through the systems, and the behavioral therapist telling me there's nothing wrong with your son. He's very smart. He picks up on things very quickly.
My only concern about all of this is how many other kids are diagnosed with these problems that 100%. Don't really have a problem. What they need is a loving, caring person beside them, teaching them and going through the hurdles of knowledge, of learning their ABCs and the numbers and anything.
All I'm
really
saying to you, Jamie, this is what I'm saying to you. If you as a parent, and I'm gonna give the best advice right now. If you're paying, you better hope to God the ratio on a student to teacher is fitting so they can get the attention that they need to learn.
Yeah.
Period. Because I'll tell you right now, I paid the money that I paid, and my son did not get the attention. Not. And I can prove it because there's it's documented. My son in February, I have emails that document that he can't read, that he can't, you know, and I was embarrassed, Jamie.
So
I'm so embarrassed. Like I was embarrassed.
Are we going to see Carmen/teacher very soon in the next year?
100%. You know what, Jamie? I don't mean to be rude, and I don't mean to turn, like, honestly, I am the best teacher for my kids, period. And listen, nothing against teachers. I wouldn't hang out with half the teachers that teach, right? My kids. I wouldn't hang out with them. So I'm putting my kids in their care. You know what I mean? And that's horrible to say, but it's true. You know what I mean? I wouldn't hang out with them. So why am I getting them to educate my kid? So I'll be honest with you. I've told Zervain, and we've sat down and talked about it. I said, I think the best teacher for our kids is me. You know what I mean? And it's my kids. I can do whatever I want. And
after a certain level, then it's going to be a little bit hard, right? Once you start getting into middle school and high school levels. I mean, not saying that you won't be able to teach them, but there's going to be,
there's tutors that can tutor them. Listen, there's a whole bunch of, resources, Jamie. Listen, I can educate myself. I pick up on things very quickly. Right. And you're right. So Alana's homework, she's, turning 14. She's grade 8. Some of it I don't understand, but I research it. I do the teacher prep. You know what I mean?
So do you feel like you as a parent could do most of the heavy lifting and then have somebody, a professional, a teacher to look over or to just confirm, like probably 100%. A test at every 3 months or whatever it is, but at least if you as a parent if you have the opportunity to teach your kid, if you're willing to learn that stuff, teach your kid, and then, every 3 months or every 2 months, whatever it may be, there's a test for them to go over and just to confirm that they have reached that level.
You're right.
That might be the 100%. Solution for a lot of cases.
And that comes, you're right though, but Jamie, let's say, and I said to Zervain, let's say grade 6, 7, the kids are like, I want to go to school. Then I'll put them in school. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I'm going to keep them out and it's going to be forever. What I'm saying to you is this is the most crucial time. This is the time where the parents, and I had a conversation with a BDM who told me that his son was diagnosed with behavioral issues. He had to be on medication. Is this what teachers are doing though? To like control their class and keep their class in control. Listen, I'm not calling out teachers. I'm not doing any of that stuff, but let's be realistic. That's all I heard. When I opened up about my son, he's like, they're going to say that he needs to be on medication. I'm telling you right now, once he's like, so that leader quality that my son has to be a leader, he stands out of a crowd. As soon as you come out of the herd, guess what happens? The teacher's like, wait a second, there's something wrong with your kid. Your kid needs to be medicated.
Yeah,
round it up.
And then that
behavioral therapist. And then, you know what I mean? It's not right, Jamie.
And then that is going to affect the kid as well, because now all of a sudden he knows, hold on, I did something that that's me. And all of a sudden I'm put aside because of that. And they're putting me under medication. So something is wrong with me when there's nothing wrong.
But let me tell you, Jamie, my son was full of anxiety, like full of anxiety, because he would go to school and I'm like, please don't be bad, Zervain. Please don't be bad. So he would be anxiety. Now look at him. You know, he's thriving. Like he's rocking with learning. You don't understand. This COVID has been a blessing to me because it made me realize that the school system failed me. And not even for nothing. I didn't even want to go to the public or Catholic. I put my kid in the private sector. Let's just go. And then I assumed that the Montessori environment would help the entrepreneur. Because I feel my kids are entrepreneurs, right? They see me and Zervain, we're entrepreneurs. They're going to essentially be entrepreneurs, right? They're not going to be under control of, a company or any of that. They're going to be their own company. So I thought, okay, the Montessori environment, but I was dead on and I had nothing. If Montessori works for you, God bless. If your kid, it works for them, God bless.
This is something that it's obviously your personal experience. You've gone through it. And not saying that, it might just be that school in particular. Other schools might be better structured and all of that.
Maybe the leader would be better. Maybe the principal was better. I don't know.
There's so many variables to that we can't say.
Tons. But you know what? I'll tell you in my personal experience, I'll tell you now, Jamie, I've opened up a can of worms that honestly I kept quiet about because it's taboo, right? Oh my God, my kid can't read. Oh my God, my kid can't. But you know what? Guess what? He's reading. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's reading. He knows everything. Because guess what? I sat with him. I taught my kid one-on-one. He doesn't have a learning disability. How many kids are, misdiagnosed with, he has a learning disability? Mm-hmm. Because, the parent didn't take ownership to actually teach their kids. Maybe look at something like that. Get a private tutor. Do something about that. When my private tutor came here, right away she said, there's nothing wrong with your son. There's nothing wrong with him. He just needs the attention. He's bored. He's bored in that class because nobody's giving him attention.
Now let's move away from the kids a little bit and let's talk a little bit about the entrepreneur side of you. You own your business. How has everything been now with your team? I know because I'm part of the team a little bit. I know that you guys have been doing the Zoom calls and getting all that. How has that changed in your team environment? Like, are you guys still keeping up with those motivational Mondays? I know now they're Wednesdays. Of course,
yeah. So we have Motivational Monday every Monday. We have, Tip Tuesday goes out. I constantly send out the WhatsApp message once a day. That goes out every morning. I'm up at 3:30. So by 5.
What time do you go to bed?
About 9:10.
Oh, geez. Okay, I'm not even going to say what time it was when I went to bed last night.
You probably went to bed at 3.
I was probably falling asleep when you were waking up. Yeah, let's just keep it like that.
But that's what I mean. Like I try to, and I've always said this, learning mortgages is easy. It's tough, right? The team is so used to being together all the time, right? And I tell them like our Zoom call essentially is to do that, but it's nowhere near being together in a room, right? So but I try to keep them motivated because it's tough. Jamie, it's tough, right? So
yeah, but at the same time, have they now started realizing that being together in the boardroom or this and that, yeah, it's great. I'm not taking away from that, but it might have been giving a team a false sense of security too.
You're right.
Because you don't. Yeah, it's great, but you don't really need that in order to succeed in business, in order to make your deals, in order to talk to people. We're looking at each other right now. I know obviously we're not right in front of each other, but it's pretty close, right? So I think now after a couple of months being in this situation, I think everybody across the board, especially, if you're working in an office environment, I think people are realizing that human interaction is very important, but it's not what you need in order to succeed. It's not that key feature for you to succeed anymore. Do you agree with that?
This is the new norm. You're right, though. We talked about going virtual. We talked about DocuSign. It was me. It was more me like, no, guys, we can't do it. But you know what? It doesn't take away. I talk more to my clients now on the phone. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Before it was like I would meet them face to face and that was good enough. But I talk a lot more Zoom, FaceTime. It doesn't matter, like text messaging. We're always talking. So honestly, Jamie, it hasn't really changed. It's, the team's motivated. They're awesome. We did a podcast. They're great. Like they're doing really good. Everybody's rebranding themselves. You've seen that.
Yeah.
I'm still teaching them how to rebrand. I'm still teaching them everything on Motivational Mondays. So they've got their tasks. They're still doing everything. Next week, we're going to be doing our touch base vision boards. So the new vision boards. So that's going to be for June. So June 1st, we have to do our vision board. So I'm going to send out a program for them to do vision boards, and that has to be handed in. So it's essentially keeping everybody motivated. But you, honestly, Jamie, all you have to do, and somebody said something to me, because you send out these, like I work on my quotes not a quotes, but like today was more of gratitude, right? So I try to send a little spiel on gratitude, and I'm like, okay, maybe they don't really read it. But then everybody, when I don't send it, everybody's like, hey, what happened to that write-in? I missed it. Can you send it out? So
I think everybody needs that little bit of a reminder, right? And that's what you're doing, right? You're sending off that little reminder, that little motivation, a little inspiration, a little push. Sometimes that's all you need. You know all this stuff, like a lot of these quotes and a lot of these things people say and a lot of this stuff, motivational, blah, blah, blah. We know it, but sometimes we need that little push.
You need it, man. Yeah. Like I'll be honest with you. When I go through Facebook, there's this one guy who's always on my Facebook who has a ton of quotes. I love reading it. Like Zervain's like, oh God, didn't you just read this the other day? I'm like, but it's just reading it is just like, it's like a little boost, right? So you're like, oh, that's so true, right? And then you move on, right? You move on with your days. So, but I honestly, a lot has changed. I think this is the new norm, and I love it. Like I told Zervain, I love being home. I love being home with the kids. I think it's so much fun. Yeah, you've got your days where it's really stressful. Like today, I'm like, okay, guys, 1:00, we got to hurry up, you know, and we were running late because I had to feed them. I had to make sure that they had their lunch.
But we had those crazy days when the offices were open and when everything was going normal, quote unquote. We had those days anyway. So it's like,
you're right.
Now it's all because I'm home now, I can complain more. No, it's just the way it was, right? It's so true that we just have to adapt. And I think it's all about being more positive about stuff. And viewing things out, I'm saying this and trying to listen to it myself because like any human being, we all go down. We all feel down sometimes. We get hit from a lot of different places and it's just overwhelming sometimes. And you do go down, but then you have to kind of look, okay, does it really, really matter? Do all these things that are happening that are pulling me down, does this really matter to my life, to my family, to who I am, the core? And that's when you start realizing, okay, let me step back. I think that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been trying to do. And it's like, sometimes with Anna, kids and all that. Yeah, it gets to be too much. But step back and just focus on the positive. Sometimes it's what we've been finding is, we do a timeout for ourselves and 2 minutes, no phones, no nothing. You just sit down, close your eyes, just blank out. Because
listen, Jamie,
that resets your brain, right?
You're right. You know what I did? I don't know, it was a couple of weeks ago, I did a spiritual retreat. Like I said to Zervain, don't put the news on. I want to be in my own realm, right? So, and I did that because I felt that I was like, you're like at that breaking point. You're like, something doesn't seem right. Oh my God. And then all of a sudden I did it on the weekend. I was like, I'm not talking to anybody. So, okay, at after hours, I was checking my phone just to make sure my mom or everything was okay. But honestly, that changed everything. And Zervain's like, after that spiritual retreat, I was laying in the grass outside, rolling on the grass.
Is that when I called you? You were in the grass. Is that when I called you? Was that it?
Yeah, no, I'm dead serious. And Zervain's like, you're so different. But I honestly, I really want to live life in joy.
But you know what? It's funny because when we spoke, when you said, oh, I'm doing this, I'm on the grass. And after that call, it got me thinking even more as well. I'm like, she's right, man. Like, it's true. Like, why are we stressing out? While we were here doing I got like calls coming in. I don't care. I'll get to them after. It's okay. My world is right here, right now.
But the lady said something right to me. So this is something that and I'm going to throw this out for anybody watching, listening to this. She said something that was it stopped me in my tracks. Like the first day when I started, because it was a 3-day spiritual retreat and like a motivational spiritual retreat. And the first thing she said to me, she goes, Carmen, if you drop dead right now, she's like, you dropped dead, you're dead. That's it, you died. She's like, do you think life would go on the next day?
All those calls,
all those people, all the people looking for mortgages. Do you think that they're going to wait for your call back, or are they just going to move on to somebody else?
Yeah. Everything's going to move on. The
Okay.
world is going to keep on spinning.
And then she goes like this. This is what she said. Now stop and think about that. Stop. And then she's like, okay, so your kids, are they going to remember you? Are they going to be affected? So why give them less time of yourself? Just think about that, Jamie. Just stop. And I was like, wow. So when I was laying in the grass rolling around, I was rolling with my daughter. I was rolling with my dog. I'm like,
creating memories.
Create memories. And you heard this weekend. We have a big house and I'm in the pool house camping with my kids.
You know, a lot of people say they want to be immortal. The way to be immortal, in my point of view, is to keep memories out there of yourself. 100%. And the only way you can keep those memories in your kids, in everybody you touch, is
100%.
is if you're kind, is if you're a good person, because then people will tell stories about you from generation to generation, because
Jamie,
remember that uncle, remember that friend, remember that neighbor,
100%.
Remember that.
That's my dad, man. I'm telling you. And I say to my two older ones, my stepkids, Alana and Mathany, the one night I stayed up till 4:00 in the morning talking to them, right? 4:00 in the morning. We stayed and we were talking, laughing so loud. Zervain would periodically wake up, yell at us, and then we'd be like laughing. So like kids, right? And I swear to you, the next morning I was dying. I thought I was going to throw up. I'm like, I'm not built for, because I got up so I didn't get up at 3:30, at 6:00 that morning, right? And I was like, oh my God, I feel so hungover. But it was honestly the best feeling, because that whole day, and even now, we have inside jokes, right? So we're joking around, right? I feel so much more connected with them than ever. And I said to Zervain, I said, I can't believe how much fun that was. Like, and he's like, yeah, but you were so sick. But you don't remember being sick the next day, so sick, right? Like all day, I couldn't even fall asleep. But it was worth it, because it was so much fun. And it was just like, it was honestly the best feeling. That's why. And
I think in the middle of this chaos that this pandemic brought in, and we cannot disregard all the bad stuff that's happened, obviously, disease and people dying and all of that. But on the flip side, and I think we need to focus more on that flip side, we need to realize that I think more and more people are realizing what's important in their life.
You have to.
I think this was I think this was a way of us kind of realizing that there's a reset button. There's a way for us to change things. Not everything is that important anymore. And we need to realize that who and what is really important for us, what really matters to us. And I've kind of been going through that whole thing. And I was just telling Anna yesterday, I'm like, yeah, I want to keep on working. I want to keep on being busy, but I want to have control in my time. And I'm not going to allow anybody else, aside from my group of my family, to affect it. Because everybody else, they're still important. They're still friends. They're still clients. And we're going to give them the attention. But it's not at the drop of a dime. You don't just stop everything you're doing because that person all of a sudden decided that they want to talk to you. And that's the most important thing in the world. Well, you know what? No. I'm going to stop and I'm going to look at my schedule. If I can't get back to you today, I'll get back to you tomorrow. And that's the way it is. Because
I think you've sensed that I'm like totally like that now.
Yeah.
Sometimes I forget to call you. I'm sorry. That was like the last 2 you were chasing me for 2 days. I'm like,
but I used to get
sorry.
But I used to get stressed that you weren't getting back, or anybody for that matter. And now I don't even do that, because now I'm realizing.
Listen, last week was a good week. And I wholeheartedly with work, with my kids, just my daughter had, like, honestly, Jamie, she sat here and she knows the whole alphabet. She sits there with her brother, so I didn't know, right? So, and then all of a sudden her brother had his head down and I put the card up. I'm like, A, ah, right? And she's like, A, ah. I'm like, what the hell? Because she's just repeating him, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's memory. And she's 4. Like, she's going to be 4. It's crazy. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So then I started doing all the flashcards. And if she knew every single one. So it was like, oh man, that was a breakthrough.
If this didn't happen, you would probably not have realized all of these things, right?
No,
and
you're right.
That's what I'm trying to push out whenever I talk to people and all of that. It's like, yeah, because you know how it is. People, when you start, hey, how's it going? Oh, it's this, like, they always get the negatives. Oh my God, the world is. Yeah, we get it. We know that. But have you been spending time With your kids now, or man, with your dog, or with?
I can't wait till this weekend. We're doing it again. That's how this sounds great. I'm like 3 days of work. Oh,
that's it.
No,
anyways, I'm looking at the time here. I think we're getting close to the whole Zoom situation timing out for us. I wanted
to cover one more thing with technology.
Go ahead.
We talked about technology really quickly.
Yeah.
I saw a podcast the other day of this new brokerage that started, and they're doing all electronic. Okay, everybody's doing electronic. There's nothing new with that. But I thought I would throw that out because, watching that podcast with, the brokerage that's stating that, they have this new thing where, it's self-generated. All you have to do is enter information and they'll tell you, you're approved and what perfect product. I'm a little iffy about that. I was watching it. I didn't know how I felt about it. But I would always caution on trying to get somebody to review your application, not a system, because systems aren't always, perfect.
But that's like anything.
Right?
That's like any business. I mean, I also see that a lot in my design side of things. Oh, go to this website, input this information, and boop, here pops the logo out.
But imagine that with mortgages. Like this company is
exactly,
and they're trying to advertise on. If you input all your information, we'll tell you what product suits you. That's very dangerous.
That can be tricky.
You know what?
That can be tricky.
For me, right? And then when I read that, when I was watching the podcast, I'm like, this is going to cause a lot of issues. You're essentially trying to take away expert 15 years, 20 years of experience watching the market. You don't even know what the market's like right now. So there's so many. Are you going to advertise that?
There's so many variables to each and everybody's situation that it's hard for any computer to kind of realize what's going on.
Right?
And then that human feeling too, right?
Yeah. So okay, I get the millennials want convenient. You know what? Everybody's doing virtual. Pick the person that has the most experience, or pick the person that knows their stuff, and essentially go through there. Like I get you would get the same thing in your business, Jamie, but
I think in any business we're getting that a lot, and now people are starting to push the technology as a new thing. It's not a new thing; it's been here. It's it's been done.
Right?
But still be able to pick the person with the experience and with the right knowledge to be able to provide you the best service of whatever 100%. It is. It doesn't mean
you're right.
Designer.
I just want to make mention of that. So.
Yeah, no worries. All right, Carmen. Thank you so much for being here. And hopefully we will be doing another podcast face-to-face soon. And all this is gone, and we'll do that. But until then, we'll do this.
Sounds perfect, man. I love it.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
All right.